Aloha, friends and family. Gonna record this video upright because I can't lean the phone against the windshield sideways. And what the heck? I'll turn off the car too. Coming at you today from Red Springs, North Carolina. And let's start with, I don't know. Let's start with, what kind of things would you expect from society or the world if it was moving from unconsciousness or unawareness into awareness? Would we expect people to start seeing a lot of things that they never saw before? Hold on. Would we expect people to start questioning things that they never questioned? So you would expect then to people to start questioning institutions, all of our institutions, because we've just accepted it. I just love loud vehicles. They're so pleasant to listen to. So you would expect, people to start questioning all of our institutions that we've just accepted our whole lives. So you might have, people would start to question how the police conduct themselves. You would start to question what's really going on in the school systems. You would have a big segment of society questioning the whole healthcare system and how it operates and functions. And again, I'll say it, we were all incarnated into a system of abuse, an abusive system. But see, if you're unconscious and unaware that that is the system that you're in, then you won't even ever know that. You won't ever even question that. You would just go along as though everything is totally normal, and you would accept it as being totally normal. So all this chaos and craziness is the proof for anybody questioning whether or not we're actually evolving consciously. Anybody questioning that we're having a worldwide awakening, because these are the things that you would expect if that was true, right? If it's true that the world is going from an unconscious state of existence into a higher conscious state of existence. It's a transformation. In other words, you don't just, suddenly the world's not just going to be like, oh, we were all unconscious, now we're conscious. Amazing, now we're back in Eden. I mean, it is that simple in one sense, but humans themselves don't just transform instantaneously, right? We have to, we learn things. Again, we're in time. We're in time, so things take time. And now we have the equivalent of the collective consciousness in the public eye, if you will, in the public mind, with these devices, with the internet, with all these platforms. Now, unfortunately, the people that are ahead of the curve, that want to maintain the status quo, that want to maintain a population of people that are unconscious, they built the platforms so that they could control, as much as they could anyway, what got on the platforms or into the collective consciousness. See, if they can keep everything in the collective consciousness twisted up like a pretzel, well, it's going to take a long time for humanity to awaken, or it's going to take longer. If they can suppress the light, if they can suppress the higher frequency, if they can suppress positivity and just keep everything negative, only let the people spewing hate and ignorance, only give them a voice, and then they will attract other people that are like them, and then the ignorance will grow and spread like a virus. So everything going on, all this stuff going on, is actually proof that consciousness is elevating, that humanity as a whole, or we could say the collective consciousness, is moving from 3D into 5D, which will take some time, at least in the sense it will take some time for them to realize it. I say it's already happened. We just don't realize it yet, or everybody doesn't realize it yet. But unconsciously, they do realize it. Because that's exactly why, again, all this stuff is coming up. Like everything that we've been conditioned to just accept and think is normal is all coming up at the same time. And different people have different issues, right? Different countries are going to have different issues. Different peoples are going to have different issues. Because everybody, had their own handlers, really. And what are handlers? Who are handlers? Handlers are the people that, generally speaking, deal with tricking younger people into systems of abuse. So like Ghislaine Maxwell was a handler. She handled kids to trick them into their pedophile ring or their sex ring or whatever. That's a handler, right? So we all have had handlers of varying degrees in this system of abuse, because the system of abuse won't continue to function, won't work without handlers. Without the Jeffrey Epsteins and the Ghislaine Maxwells of the world, there would be no pedophile networks operating. But because they are the handlers, they handle that. They handle that beeswax. They handle that sickness, right? So that's just one example. We've got all kinds of different systems in the system of abuse, and they all have their handlers. And what they're actually trying to do, what's actually being attempted right now, is to make the entire world subject to the amalgamation of all the handlers and all the networks of abuse, to where it's planetary or global, and everything's interconnected with them. They have total control, and it'll just be like it was in Europe, and like it was here in America, as far as they set up institutions like Child Protective Services, right? And everybody's made to think, everybody's mind controlled and brainwashed to think these are the people that help kids in crisis. So if parents, were taken, if children were taken from their parents for some reason, or the parents died, let's say, and they didn't have no parents, they didn't have nowhere to go, society was supposed to think, oh, Child Protective Services will take the children and do what's right by the children. Not realizing that these institutions were set up by the handlers so that they could have free and easy access to children that were forgotten about or discarded or unwanted. Maybe the parents just didn't want them. Same with the adoption institution. So the handlers are running these scams institutions, these scam institutions, so that they could have direct access to children. And then the children would also be put into schools that were tied in with that network. And that's exactly why none of these kids, most of these kids, couldn't say anything to anybody, because they had firewalls on all four sides. If they said something to their school, the people running the school were in on it, so they would shut them down. If they said something to the counselors, the counselors were in on it. Or told what to say, and they were basically told just say that the kids are crazy and traumatized, and you can't really believe anything they're saying. They don't know what they're saying. So they created this whole system to where these people didn't even have a voice. These kids couldn't say anything to anybody because they wouldn't be believed, or they would be punished for speaking. Punished worse than they were already being punished just for living. And so this is a global issue, global problem. And they're trying to just, right now, make the whole entire thing, well, a new world order, where everybody is going to be in that situation. Everybody will be a victim. If they choose you, select you, you won't have nobody you can talk to, because they'll already have people in place to either write you off, call you crazy, disappear you, what have you. And so that's how the enslavement will work. It doesn't even have to be, enslavement with chains, because then society wouldn't function and they couldn't continue to steal your money and your kids and whatever else they want to steal. They just need to have the people put in place that the sheeple will listen to, like, these heads of these institutions, like the CDC. If they say something, then that's gospel. So if Fauci says 1 week you're supposed to be wearing a mask, that's gospel. Because he's the expert. He's the one we've put on a pedestal. He's the one we're pointing everybody to listen to in our institution that is part of our network. But you're supposed to be too stupid to know that, and too stupid to realize that, and too ignorant to put the dots together. So the sheep will mindly believe it. And then sometimes you're supposed to wear the mask, sometimes you're not. It just depends what month it is. And when you see pictures of him alone with his buddies, of course he's not wearing his, because he knows it's a scam. He knows it's a scamdemic. So as we're having this awakening and people are starting to question everything and things that they've never questioned, they're trying to stay ahead of the curve. And they're like, well, we better foment racial, division. We better make race an issue, because it's not an issue at all. But we need to bring it back. We need to resurrect it. And then we need to, stage some false flags. We need to make sure the media twists it just right, so that these people become emotionally unstable. And the minute you're emotionally unstable, you're controllable. You're already controlled, because you've lost control of your emotions, which is going to affect your full self. And then you're going to affect other people. And then those people are going to infect other people. And before you know it, we've got everybody acting like a schizophrenic, crazy person. And there's no telling what anybody's going to do, because they're under control, mind control. And if something shows up on that dastardly bastard news media, then people are ready to, go into action. Controlled, totally controlled. They won't stop and think about all this prior. I don't know why. Well, I know why. Because they've never been out of mind control. If you've been under mind control your entire existence, then this is just par for the course. This is just one more lifetime of being a slave. And you'll be back. You'll get yourself killed somehow, or you'll end up dead. And you'll be back. And you'll do it again. You'll start over. And they're happy as hell about that. They want that. They want you to keep coming back to them. They want you to keep cycling back into their network of control. All the while they're perfecting it. Making it harder for you to awaken. Making it harder for you to escape. Making it more difficult for you to even explain if you do happen to wake up. If you do happen to see through it all. You're going to have a hell of a hard time explaining it to the sheeple that are asleep. Because you got to connect like 100 dots just to begin, just to start. And most people won't even make it to 50, much less the 100, just to get on the boat or the ship. So I really don't have a whole lot to say other than I just want to make the point of all this stuff, this craziness going on is really proof that there is an awakening happening. Because if there wasn't an awakening happening, you wouldn't expect to see much difference in daily operations, because everything would just still be the status quo. Everything would still be like it was in in the 90s. In the 90s, what was going on in the 90s? Everybody was living free. Everybody was free to be the biggest ego they wanted to be. Everybody sat for hours in front of the TV. Everybody was happy to eat the fast food and the crap. Everybody believed they needed to be at their doctor's once a month, and the doctor was going to prescribe them, pharmaceuticals. And it was just a big old happy world of blind people. Deaf, dumb, and blind people. And some people would probably want to go back to that, go back to the 90s where it was just ignorant bliss. But that's not why you're here. You're not here to live in ignorant bliss. You're here to be in actual bliss, which springs from inside of you, not outside of you. See, everybody in the 90s was living in a bliss that was coming to them from the material world. It was the materials making everybody happy, or the chemicals making everybody happy, or the money, the fiat fake monopoly money making everybody happy. It was a pseudo form of happiness. It wasn't truly happiness, but if you're asleep, you don't know that. So you think that it's normal. You think that that's why you were here. You were here for a career. You were here for a bigger house and a nicer car. And living that illusion of why they told you were here and what they taught you in your school and indoctrinated you in your school. The schools became a religion. It all merged. The school became the religion, became the government, became the healthcare system, became the police and all that. It all merged into one thing. It was all just the same thing in different forms. Various layers and levels of mind control so that your energy could be extracted and put back into the very system itself. The system that's depleting you, depleting everybody. The system that is vampiric in nature. And at the very worst, lowest, darkest level of this system of abuse, they're taking little children, babies, toddlers, and doing heinous, unspeakable, unthinkable things. Because I guess, you get more energy extracted when you're stealing it and raping it and robbing it from something that is pure. And do not kids start out pure? Don't babies start out pure? Don't they start, if they didn't get sucked into that world, which most don't, but let's not forget the ones that do. For God's sake, let's not forget them. Let's not ever forget them. But the ones that don't get sucked into that lowest level got pushed into all the other levels of, indoctrination. We start them, we put them in schools, we tell them to memorize this stuff. We're telling you the facts, we're telling you everything. We're going to tell you everything, and you remember it. You regurgitate it back, and if you do good at that, we say you're good. We give you a pass. We pat you on the back and say good job. And then you'll go out there and perpetuate it for us. So it's a big world of abuse. And it has layers, and it's a system now. And they want to continue the system of abuse. And everybody has to play a part in that system of abuse, or it could start breaking down. And for sure, if everybody woke up to it, it would damn sure break down, because we would tear it down. But if we don't know about it, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to think that it's normal, and we're going to continue to cycle in it. So that's the horn right there. That's the horn. That's the wake up. Don't cycle in the system of abuse any longer. And it starts within. Be the change. Be the change. So you got to work inside of yourself. And that will change the external, the whole world. When your inner world changes, your outer world changes as well. So I'm going to leave it there. Love and light. Until next time, my beautiful friends and family.